Hi Book Dragons, I am back. I did not film a mid-month wrap-up for March because when that rolled around I was not feeling my best. I had like a really bad sinus infection. I had other things that was happening, so I didn't want to filming it. And now I have a lot of books to chat about, but I also am not feeling my best. I have allergies are like a disaster, so if I sound a little bit nasally, that is why that is. But I have a lot of books to talk about, and I normally do like a mid-month wrap-up, so it's not this long, but that did not happen. I'm definitely going to do an April one and a May one for sure, but maybe not May. May is my weird month, but this has a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'm not going to talk too much about the short things that I read in the middle of the month because I did do a Peace Talks vlog where I kind of chatted about everything, but let's do the monthly stats. So in March, it was Realmathon. I was Team Stingers. We won, which is so exciting. I have never been on a winning Realmathon. I think I was on a winning team for Clue one year, but that was it. So, and it was not this year that we won. I think we won last year. So that was really exciting. I loved being on the team. Our bonus prompts were to read a book with like a book boyfriend in it, and also read a book from an author that you read before. And then there was a lot of like prompts that you could choose. Really recommend it. It's a low-key readathon, so it was really fun. And most of these books that I did, I think, were for defense. I had a couple that were attack, but very rarely did that happen. So I read 24 things, which is my most read this month, and a lot was due to Peace Talks, where I read like small things. I read 7,716 pages for an average page count per day of 248. Average page count is 321, which we're not as high as I want it to be, but again, with readathons that have small things in it, it's gonna go down a little bit. And I did read a lot of fantasy romance. I read a lot of YA this month. I read 4 book with wraps, 13 from authors I read before. That prompt was really key. And I hauled 11 books. So I've been pretty much hauling like the same amount, which is good. I actually didn't go book shopping, so I actually have to write that in my thing, like when I put the stack together, how many books I get to treat myself to. So I'll do that at the end and make a stat because eventually I'm gonna go book shopping. I had 3 5-star. Oh no, wait, sorry. I had 1 5-star, 1 rogue 5-star. I had 2 4.5 stars, 8 4 stars, 12 3.5 stars for an average rating of a 3.67. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the 5-star one was. I might have to go back on my spreadsheet and look because I had a lot of books that were like close. Let me see what I'll look at it in a second because I don't remember what I put it as. I read 11 new releases, 5 backlists, and 8 from last year. I read 11 physical, 9 audiobook, 1 mixed media, and 3 ebook. All those were during Peace Talks. And then I started 6. I continued in 7. Oh, I remember what it was. I do remember what it was. I remember. I didn't have a ton of like strong reads this month, but I was coming out of a slump, so I think I did better. I completed 1 series. I caught up with 2. I read 10 standalones, which is really good. And I read 7 for a middle grade audience, 6 for a YA, and 11 for an adult. And then I read 5 ARCs, 5 from Audible, 0 from KU, 6 from the library, and 7 owned, which is always a stat that I want to get up there, and then 1 from Everand. I read 1 nonfiction, 5 fanro, 1 contemporary, 3 fantasy, 4 mystery, 5 manga or graphic novels, and I read 1 romance and 1 sci-fi. So those are the stats for March, which is very exciting. So yeah, it's very exciting. So now let's get into the books that I read. The first book that I read was a nonfiction. I am trying to kick off every month with a nonfiction read because it's a slow way to start the month. It's also a quick book, and I really want to read more nonfiction. I have so many nonfictions that I want to read. So I just kind of put 1 in every month. Some months I might even read 2. It just sort of depends like what I'm doing. But I read the 3rd Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. I'm going to attach a photo here. Nonfiction book, and I had such a fun time with it. This book really like dived fully into Kelly Bishop's life, stuff that I didn't even know. The Gilmore Girl was a very, very small part of it, but I think if you like the story, the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, this book for some reason gave me similar vibes, and I just like learning about her. She was a Broadway actress, she was a Tony winner, she was in the chorus line, and it was just fun. I mean, obviously the Gilmore Girls had a part of it, but I learned a lot about her and I thought it was a fun read. And that was my first book of the month. And then I picked up, trying to dive into Fan Row, and I read The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. I had a fun time with this book. This book is magic light. This book is fantasy light. I think if you like Bridgerton and you want a little bit of magic, I would check this book out. It was fate focused. Yeah, oh my god, I read this book so long ago. But Ivy Bennett's debut season, she is kind of, her sister was going to be with the queen or the king. Basically, it's like the selection with Faye. And she goes into her season and every person gets like a wish from the queen to make them more suitable for their season. Skip this season, the son is going to be the one that's going to look for a bride. And if you agree to be courted by the king, then you agree to have no more prospects. So you kind of follow these two characters, and there's two brothers in this whole story. And I loved it. It was a fun book. It really was very, very light on the fan row, but I had a fun time. It gave me Bridgerton vibes, which I'm always looking for. And I had a fun time. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is a little bit forgettable now that I'm kind of looking back all at the start of the month, and then you might see that kind of with the books are in the third month. But I had a fun time. If there's a second book, I will definitely read it. So that is where we are with that. And the next book that I read was one that I didn't like as much. I only gave this book 3 stars. And that is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stevens. And I really struggled with this book. Like, I'll be very, very honest. I wound up getting the audiobook and I wound up listening to a lot of it because, again, I just was bored. Basically, you follow these two characters and they're always meant to kill each other in every single life. And one always kills the other. But then you follow our two characters in the present where, like, you're kind of seeing their lives, but they're always interacting. So you see that timeline. And she is desperate to survive to save her little sister's life. She is the only person that can save her little sister's life. But they're inching closer to the day that she always dies, and she's worried. And then as you're seeing that story progress, as we see like who's killing her, who these people are, their relationship, you also flash back to their past lives. And that's where it lost me. Because I was so captured by the present. I mean, I didn't really care about the past as much. And I just did not like it as much as I was hoping. So I only gave this book 3 stars. So yeah, that is my thoughts on that one. And then the next book that I read was First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. And I am going to attach a photo here. Love B.K. Borison. I thought that this was a fun read. I don't think it's a new all-time favorite, but I'm very interested in the other books in this series because I always say that if I'm going to read a companion series, I'm going to like the other books more just because you kind of flesh out your characters a little bit more. And I felt the same way when I read her Love Light Farm series. Like, I liked the first book, but I adored the other books in the series. So you basically follow a main character that she's a single mom and her daughter is calling into a love line to get advice for her mom, and her mom is like, oh my god, what is happening, who are you calling? And she winds up talking to the guy that's kind of like on this love show, and they wind up having some interactions, and it's really, really cute. I wouldn't say it's my favorite B.K. Borison of all time, but I had a fun time listening to it. It was a quick one. I think it's a retelling, I think, of Sleepless in Seattle. I think I never saw that movie, so going by. But I had a fun time with it. I thought it was really, really cute, and I am really excited to read more books in this series. And I do really, really like B.K. Borison. I just don't think it was my favorite book that I've read by her. And then the next book that I read was Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yambo, and I wound up reading a little bit of this and then listening to a little bit of this. And to be very honest, this book did not hit. It was a little bit boring, a little bit confusing, and I didn't really like the pace of it, to be like so honest, and I just struggled with it a little bit. But basically you follow this main character named Hannah, and she works at a pawn shop, but instead of like pawning things, you you pawn your regrets. And she wakes up one day expecting to start her job because she's kind of taking over for her dad. When she wakes up, her dad is missing and something has been taken. And she has to kind of team up with this medical student to kind of go through all these worlds to find him. And honestly, it was just a little bit boring. I was struggling this month to find something that really, really captured me. The books, the plot, and the characters in this did not do that. But I love this edition, so I was really hoping I would like it. But I did not. So we only gave this book 3 stars for rating. I had a really, really rough reading month at the start, and then I got like super sick. So it was like hard to like stay focused. But I gave it 3 stars. I'm happy that I read it. It does take a book off my ARC TBR as well because I got this at Comic-Con as well. So yeah. And then the next book that I read is An Assassin's Guide to Babysitting by Natalie C. Parker. I will attach a photo here. This was another book that like I just wanted a little bit more from it. These books were also super short, so this is kind of like a superhero adventure story, but like it just was so fast. I felt like it was supposed to try to be like a superhero romantasy, but I don't think it got there. But you basically follow this character and she's kind of living with this hired assassin. He's kind of like training her because her parents were killed. She doesn't know why her parents were killed. And then she winds up going on this babysitting job, and then the people that the people that she's babysitting for are also killed, and she kind of has to run away with the baby. And it was a fun teen read. Like, I just think it didn't have enough substance. I felt like it was only 320 pages and it was so much happening. I just didn't feel that connected to anyone, so I only gave this book like 3 stars. But I feel like all the elements together, there wasn't enough time to kind of expand them out. And I wanted the book to be a bit more grittier and just to be more like a rom-com. So, but it is sapphic. It's LGBTQ+. It was a fun read. I just didn't love all the characters and I didn't feel that connected to them. So that's why I only gave it 3 stars. And then the next book I read was The Mystery of Locked Rooms by Lindsay Curry. I will attach a photo here. Middle grade March month, and I was trying to read some middle grade, so I wound up picking this one up. I don't remember why. Could not remember why, but I picked it for a reason, I think. And I gave this book 3 stars. Again, it's a really, really short book, and I feel like sort of like what I said with the previous book I just chatted about. I needed more time, but you basically have these characters and they're kind of experts at escape rooms, and this family really, really needs money, so these kids decide to go to this infamous escape room that like has never been solved. There was supposed to be a cash prize, and they have to try to solve it. And it was fun, it was quick, but I just didn't feel that connected to anything, so that's why it's only got 3 stars. Again, can you see a vibe? Nothing I was reading was hitting in March. Almost nothing. So yeah, that is where we were at. And then I headed into Peace Talks, where I read a ridiculous amount of short things. So I'm just gonna go through these super quickly because I don't have a lot to say about them, to be very, very honest. I read Mallory and the Trouble Twins, and I gave it 4 stars. This was my favorite thing I read over that weekend, other than like the novel that I also read, but I gave this one 4 stars. I read Crumble. I gave this book 3 stars. And then I read Katie Batter Up, the graphic novel. I will attach a photo here. I gave this book 3 stars. These are all in my Realmathon and my Peace Talk blogs. And then I also read Alexis and the Perfect Recipe. I will attach a photo here. I gave this book 3 stars as well. And then I read my novel that I think I'm going to do this for every readathon that I do that has like a short book goal. I also read The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really, really liked it. And I struggled a little bit with the pacing, I'll be very, very honest. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of the pacing. I felt like I didn't feel that connected to the story. Like, the pacing was just a little bit off and a little bit weird. I'm going to talk about that in another book later. But I like this. It was a fun fan role, a fun setting. And you basically have these 2 characters that are kind of forced enemies that are kind of forced to work together. The world was fun. I have read before by Catherine Doyle, but never by herself. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I just liked it. It was a quick read. There was a lot of side characters that I felt connected to. And I just had a fun time with it. That's why this book got 4.5 1.5 stars. I think the pacing was a little bit off and had some pacing issues throughout it. Like, I didn't, like, I'm glad that I was kind of reading it the way that I did because it kind of broke it up. But it wasn't paced enough that I wanted to pick it up. But yeah. So, there's 2 characters and they're on opposite gangs and they have to kind of like find a way to get along. So, that was interesting. And then the last thing I read for Peace Talks was Mia's Baker's Dozen, a cupcake mystery, and or a cupcake graphic novel, and I'll attach a photo here. Another book that I gave 3 stars to. It was just a graphic novel. It was cute. I don't think it was that memorable, to be honest, but I had a fun time with it. And then I realized that I was pretty sick. I was down for the count, and I broke my cardinal rule of only reading fantasy, but I felt like I needed something that had no world building that I could really like dig my teeth into. So I read All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham, and I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was a solid thriller. Probably like one of my favorite thrillers that I'm not my favorite thriller, but I had a fun time with it. Hold on, my puppy is demanding attention. Hold on one second. He demanded a little bit of attention. So yeah, I gave this book 4 stars. I think that it's a domestic thriller. And I think that, like, Isabella's basically her son was taken in the middle of the night. She is a year out. She's kind of doing speaking engagements. And she winds up teaming up with this podcaster to kind of dive into the story. And a lot of things are revealed. It's kind of like past and present because you see her in the present and then you see her in the past at various times in her life. And this book did surprise me. I will admit that. Like, I was surprised with the twist at the very, very end. So I gave the book 4 stars. And I would definitely listen to more books by this author. But I don't normally read my thrillers, and that is why, just because I tend to like get through them quicker when I listen to them. And then I also read 2 books in the Ellie Alexander series. I'm going to talk about them back to back. So I read A Crime of Passion Fruit, and then I wrote another one, Bites the Crust. I will attach both photos here. Same exact series, and I think I liked another one, Bite the Crust, a little bit more. I gave that book 4.25 stars because that was in the town. It was about someone that like you knew, and it was like a murder that was connected to the town. The other one had her going on the ship with her ex-husband, and it was like a little bit more isolated. And I don't like those mysteries in here because I feel like you have to do a lot of build up in like 200 pages to get to the mystery solved. So I didn't like that one as much, but I still like them. They're really, really quick listens, and I've definitely been on my listening to mystery kick this year, which is normally romance, so we'll see if that changes in the next season of life. Anyway, and then I read Royal Air Academy by Lindsay Dugan, and I gave this book 4 stars. I honestly think if I would have listened to this book, it probably could have been a 5-star book. So I am going to possibly put this on a re-listen to list now that I know that my Everend has a copy of it, because I like the concept of this. This is basically inheritance games meets oh my god, it's like inheritance games meets Royal Air. Basically, you have these 4 characters, 3 are related and 1 is not, and they're basically kind of go to school to kind of decide who's going to be the leader of the free world, and 3 are related and 1 is not, and they're kind of at the school together. But the one thing I struggled with, and I think the audiobook probably would have helped me, was the characters really lived this such a similar experience, so their voices weren't unique enough. I think if I would have had the audiobook and like we had people with accents, I think that would have helped me a lot. So I just didn't feel that connected to this story, but because I didn't feel that connected to the characters, their voices didn't feel that different. But I would definitely read another book in this series. So definitely like a solid 4-star rating. Could have been higher if I listened to it, but I didn't. And then I needed a win. I needed something that I knew I was gonna like. So I picked up, oh no, I don't know where I put it. Where did I put it? Oh dear, I lost it. Oh, okay. So I picked up Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. This was a sequel and at the end of a series that I had a truly fabulous time with. I just struggled a little bit with the pacing in this book, but I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's probably going to be 5 on Goodreads. It will probably be eligible for my top books of the year because I had a fun time with it. I just think I struggled a little bit with the pacing in the story. And I think because I liked book 1 so much, I'm not saying a lot. I really like book 1. I think that this book it just had a pacing issue. I felt like this book wasn't as paced as well. Or I wanted things to be spent more time on. But I love the romance in this book. Like, I absolutely loved it, and I don't think I would have said that in book 1. I think that I really grew to like the romance so, so much. So that really saved this book for me. That's why I gave it 4.5 stars. I just struggled a little bit with the pacing, so that is why I didn't get a full 5. But I highly recommend the end of this duology, because I had a super fun time with it overall. Sorry, I'm making my stacks of what to sell on Pango at the end. And I'll show you guys at the end of what is going to get sold on Pango. And then the next thing that I read was The Splinter and Ash by Mara Hangekamp. This was a book that I had to read before I got to ALA, and it is a Tamora Pierce-esque story. You basically follow a princess that has a disability, and you follow a squire who's a girl, but they don't think that girls should be squires, and they kind of team up to save the kingdom from a royal plot. I had such a fun time with this book. I gave it 4 stars. Again, I feel like I liked the first half of the story a little bit more than the second half. The first half was very, very school-based, and the second half was very, very questy, and I just liked the first half a little bit more. But if you're looking for a book with excellent rap, I would definitely check this one out, especially for your middle grade students, because I think mine will love it. Which is why this is probably going to go in my classroom or be given to my librarian, because I think she will like it for the librarian. And then the next thing that I read was The Hollow Dead by Darcy Coates. I will attach a photo here. So this was like a wrap-up of this series. It's not the final book. I have one more book I have to read. But I felt like it kind of tied up a lot of things. I feel like you got a lot of answers about this. This is a cozy horror series by Darcy Coates. This is book 3, and I really did like it. I just feel like I'm kind of like listening to a TV show, and like the reveals were fun. It was a really, really quick read. It was book 4 in a series. I feel like this was like a nice ending point. Like, if you didn't want to read The Vengeful Dead, you probably could call this end, because I feel like all my questions got wrapped up. There was elements of a romance. It was cute. I will read Vengeful Dead because my library has it, but it's not like a memorable series. Like, it's not like a cozy mystery series that like I love the characters. This is just kind of run of the mill, and I felt like I was kind of listening to a Buffy episode, which is fine, or a Ghost Whisperer episode, which is fine. And then my 1 5-star of the month was Beautiful Exile by Catherine Cowles. I gave this book 5 stars. This is Arden and Link's story. And Arden is like, basically this whole series is about found family. This family is made up of adopted and biological kids. The brother and dad were killed when, like, back in the past, and ever since then the mom has adopted the most challenging cases, and she's kind of taking care of all of these kids, and every kind of kid gets a story. And this is Lincoln Arden. Arden was in the witness protection. Her dad was, there was a mystery about like her, like what happened, but she's basically in witness protection, and she works with horses, she works on a farm, she paints, and Link crosses her path. And I would say about midway through, I was like, okay, this is going to be a 4-star read. Catherine Cowles, if you're looking for a good romantic suspense, this is the author, because I can never see her twist coming. Ever. The end of this book blew my mind. I was like, what did I just listen to? So that is why it like has a 5-star. I think this author does such a good job, such good rep, such diverse tropes as well. And as much as I say kind of her men all kind of read the same in ways, the romances don't. So I had a fun time. I gave this book 5 stars, and I really am excited to see what this author is working on next. And this is definitely going in the keep pile. And the next thing that I read was Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This is a traditional cozy fantasy, the OG after Legends and Lattes, and I see why people give this that vibe. I really think I'm going to listen to book 2, because I think the hindrance was I was just reading it a little bit slower, and it is a bit slower paced, but that's kind of the point of cozy fantasy. But I will say, I think that this book had a bit more action than Legends and Lattes, but it has a similar premise, and she admits like it's very, very much inspired by that. So you follow Raina and Keontae, and all they want to do is open up a bookstore, but they live competitive lives. Reina is a guard for the for the queen. She is not the nicest person. And then Keontae is a mage, and they kind of have to like run away to go open up this bookshop, and then they have adventures along the way. And it was fun. Very, very Legends and Latte-esque, but there was a little bit more political stuff in this story, and I had a great time. 4.25. I think I'm going to try to listen to book 2 and see if I have a better experience, but I'm kind of chalking this month up to everything just I had was a bit tinged off because I was not feeling my best. But I gave this book 4.25 stars. I'm definitely going to keep this one because it has pretty edges as well, and it matches my other editions. And then I also read The Last Gifts to the Universe by Riley August. This was my first cozy sci-fi that I read, and I had a fun time with it. I just think, again, like my other books that were super, super short, I couldn't feel that connection to the characters in 276 pages. But I had a fun time with it. It was a quick listen. It was enjoyable. I want to try more cozy sci-fi. I think I would like it, but it needs to be a little bit longer for me to feel connected. But basically, you follow this brothers and sister. They're kind of going around the galaxy. They're trying to find caches to say, why did everyone die? And they found a cache that gives them the answers. And that's all that I'm going to say. And there's a cat. And the cat is in the story. And the cat does not die. Very important pieces of information, which I think you should know as a reader going in. And then I wound up, my last book of the month was The Queens of Crime by Marie Benedict. Again, this was a library book that I had to read before it went back, so I'm going to touch a photo here. This is what happens if 4 real-life crime novelists in the 1930s try to solve a murder, and this is the story. It was fun, it was quick, it was digestible. I definitely liked the first half better than the second half, but I had a fun time and I gave it 3 stars. I also did wind up DNFing at some point this month Cruel is the Light by Sophia Clark, and I'm so bummed by this. Like, I really, really am. It just did not work for me. I feel like it was such a slow-paced book, and I was really, really bored by it. This is the Fairy Loot edition that comes out in like June, so I may sell this and try to see if I get the audiobook from my library and see if it like interests me a little bit more. But yeah, so that is where we are. So these are all the books that I'm going to try to sell on Pango. I'm going to sell Watermoon, so go check out my Pango. I don't link it, but you can find it. I'm going to sell my copy is Cruel is the Light. I'm going to sell Royal Heirs Academy, All the Dangerous Things, and my 2 Babysitter Club books. Unless my coworker might want that one, so I will stick that in her pile. Yeah, I'm probably not going to sell the graphic novels. I'll probably stick those in my pile for my teacher. These are books I'm just going to bring to work and put on my bookshelf. Splinter and Ash, The Rose Bargain, Our Infinite Fates, The Last Gifts to the Universe, and The Babysitter's Club. And then the 4... Oh, and then I'm also going to sell this one probably too. And then I'm also going to sell my fancy copy of Our Infinite Fates because I didn't really like it. Our Infinite Fates my friend wanted, so I'm going to save that for her because she actually really, really wanted that one. And then the books that I'm going to keep on my shelves are Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, Beautiful Exile, Rebel Witch, and Dagger in the Flame. Those are the books I'm going to keep. And I will say I didn't do a lot this month entertainment-wise. I watched pretty much 6 seasons of The Big Bang Theory. We're going to be real and we're going to be honest. That is what I did. So let me know in the comments, what did you do in the month of March? I would love to know, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.